Hey guys, wanted to pause for a moment and just answer an email. Individual, I'm not going to read through everything just because it's an ongoing litigation. Um, Basically, the short version of the story is a person wasn't married, biological parent, but doesn't have any paternal rights. Got goat roped into. It's like, oh, cool, you're the father, so child support, but no. So they're taking the money, but they're not letting him see his kid. And as soon as he started trying to push, mom leaves the state, and he's dealing with the slow process of just trying to get somebody to listen to him, and have success in family court, only to have it pushed back, and okay, you won, but now you got to go back 6 months later at the next court date to basically say, hey, nothing ever happened. So anyways, guy had a couple questions. And the first one is how did you manage the stress and emotion and keep positive and keeping a positive attitude? Well, here's the reality. I really didn't. So when I was going through the first part of this, and it was really, in retrospect, I wasn't losing that bad because I was able to counter a lot of what the ex was doing. However, that does not negate the stress that I actually was dealing with, and it was really bad. So honestly, I hate to say this, and I know I've said this before, but honestly, the way I did it is I kind of embraced the anger I was having and the fact that the ex was trying to break me, and that I wasn't gonna give up. And I would just be like, you know what, you're gonna, that you want me to quit, you want me to go away. Now, granted, in my situation, I had already stopped her from leaving the state, so I had some initial victories that really helped. But even then, sorry about the car noise. Even then, whenever I was going through that, she was still pushing to leave the state. So she was effectively trying to move, 1,300 miles away, take all the money, and pretty much leave me devastated. So what I did is I just kept persevering, saying, you know what, you're not gonna break me, you're not gonna ruin my life, you're not gonna make it to where everything is a crap show, even though kind of it was. And what ended up happening is it just kept me going. Now, I just want to say that it wasn't like a cure-all solution. There were still days there where I gave up. Towards the end of the court stuff, I was preparing myself emotionally to lose. I hate to say it, but I was even starting to distance myself from the kids because I just was trying to mentally prepare myself. If she won and she took the kids out of state and I never saw them again, I wanted to make sure that I didn't go jump off a cliff, right? So the short answer to that is I found for me what kept me going, and that was you're not going to make me quit. And even if she won everything, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get my life back. I'm going to be a happy person. I'm not going to allow this stuff, to destroy me. Okay. So the next one is, how do you even keep going when the tank is starting to run dry? I've invested nearly everything I had, and I'm getting to the point where I might have to give in or try to represent myself because I can no longer afford the enormous lawyer bills and court costs. It feels bad to give in after all. I've already invested so much and have gotten nothing to show for it. Okay, I just want to stop right here because the guy, he's saying he has nothing to show for it, and I understand what he's saying. It's like, okay, I've spent, I think in this email he said he spent 50 grand so far, and he doesn't make a lot of money. Like 50 grand is a year's salary. So you have court orders to allow you to see your kid. Your ex isn't allowing it to happen. So you are making progress. It's just, we tend to think that if we spend enough money for a effing Mercedes, I don't know if that's real the case, but whatever, just bear with me, that you're going to have something more to show for it than what you feel is absolutely nothing. I may have to start this over. Nope, they keep going. So anyways, so in this situation, I just want to say you haven't accomplished nothing. It's just, it doesn't feel like what you paid is worth it. Now, let me just give you a little side story. In my situation, when we finally got down to the settling point, I was extremely PO'd because, and I can't remember the numbers, I'm doing it off the top of my head, but it was either like $20,000 or $30,000 that had been dumped into this divorce. And I was like, and she was getting ready to agree to everything I asked at day one when we were just a couple $1,000s into it. And I was super PO, and I'm like, I am not, no way in hell, I'm going to spend this amount of money to get the same deal. I'm not going to do that and have that person basically get, after all the stuff that had been lost, the same deal I offered before. So here's the thing, getting back to the second part of his question where he's like, how do you proceed on? Here's the reality. When you run out of money and there's nothing left and you've exhausted everything, then you have two choices. Represent yourself or stop. Now, in my situation, I got to a stalemate to where I didn't go back to court because I didn't think I could represent myself, and I didn't have any more money. And nobody, so the money tree burned down, so to speak. So this is what you have to do. In your situation, you have to look at it and say, okay, you're close. Are you going to proceed on and spend more money? If it's possible, maybe it isn't. If not, represent yourself. And, look at channels like Alex Falcone, The Proper Person, who provides a lot of good information about how to do that. And hopefully you can continue on. But at some point, they kind of just beat you down in submission, and you got to kind of find a point to where you can declare victory. For me, I got 50-50. I prevented the ex from leaving the state. Didn't stop the shenanigans, didn't stop effectively the contempt of court, the sharing of information, all that stuff. But I didn't have the mental or the emotional capacity to go back to court, and I didn't have the finances at all. And to be honest, I was not in a position to be able to fight this myself and be effective at it. And that's the other thing I just want to say on this is if you're getting to the point where you think you're gonna represent yourself, you have to ask yourself, are you really able to do it? Is it something that you can actually do? Because if it isn't, then you kind of have to do risk mitigation and say, okay, well, is the current situation stable enough? And in his specific, it's not, because he's not seeing his kid. But so that's my answer on that. Okay, so am I delusional for being concerned for my son's safety? The other thing in there, that he had mentioned is that his ex is now saying, since he's made victories, again, remember, you made victories. But since he's made victories, the ex is now saying, oh, our child has emotional, mental problems, and you're not, the father's not capable of dealing with it. So there's always something with these people. What I would say for you, dude, is you are so close to the finish line. Don't back off yet. If you can, keep going, even if you have to try to do it yourself, because she's starting to run out of things to do, right? And what she's hoping is you just get so frustrated and you just say, okay, F it, and you move on. So here's the other thing I just want to say to everybody. I just had a coaching call the other day where I just said this to this person. You are the lifeline for your child. A narcissistic person does not give a rat's ass about the child. All they care about is winning, and at all costs. So if they have to destroy their child to accomplish it, they will absolutely do it. It is the weirdest, most bizarre thing, but they don't care about the kid because they wouldn't do this. It's all about control, and they don't want you in the child's life, so they're doing everything they possibly can. Again, getting back to what I was saying is you are the lifeline for the kid. If you are not in the picture to provide that conflicting or accurate version of reality, the kids will never see it. They'll grow up thinking whoever's being erased didn't care about them. Because here's the thing. That parent is never going to go to the other person and say, hey, little Timmy, just to let you know, I'm a nut job and I hate your mom or dad so badly that I'm going to do everything in my power to erase them. And I'm going to tell you that they don't care about you, and I'm going to do everything to try to convince you to hate this person as much as I hate them so that they get out of your life. They're not going to do that. The reality is when you do that to a child, now they think that a biological parent abandoned them and hates them. So they carry that into adulthood, and for the rest of their life, they're trying to reconcile, why did my parent hate me? Maybe they want to be the best parent in the world, but in the back of their mind, that's what they're being, that's the message that's in there. Oh, mommy or daddy or whoever has physical possession, oh, they love me. Oh, of course they love me. But they're wondering what's up with the other parent. This is why you can look at some people who the parent's in jail, in prison, and the other parent is still allowing them to see their child. In a situation where you're like, well, maybe you should, try to erase that influence. But the reality is, if a kid doesn't have so go back to that scenario. Let's say that child, thinks that their other parent is a douchebag, is a criminal. There's a possibility in their mind they're thinking, well, half of that's me, so I must be a douchebag, or I can be a criminal, or I can go down this path. So it's just these people are effed up. Mine was trying pretty much the same thing. Wanted to take the kids. I would have never, you could turn around and say, oh, of course you would have seen them. Well, not if you have zero effing dollars and no resources to fly the kids out or fly back or drive back or whatever the case is. Had my ex won the right to take the kids out of state, I would have not been a dad. So let's see. The last part is, no one really seems to bat an eye when you put proof in front of them. And even if they do, it's not like it's sped anything up. The problem is the family court system is incredibly slow. It's not going to, nobody is going to take the sense of urgency that you're going to take into it, and you just have to work through the process. So hopefully that was helpful, and I'm going to get out of here because it's starting to get hot, and I'll catch you on the next video.